In this video, we're going to be talking about the math message problem from lesson 8.1, which is on page 248 in the student reference book. And we're going to do a little review on comparing and ordering decimals. The first problem deals with denominators that are the same, which we're going to use these pizzas or pies to help us with that. So in this problem, each circle is the same size and each piece is the same size, and there's 8 pieces. So each piece of pizza, each piece of pie is 1/8 of the whole amount. 1/8 of the whole amount. So when the denominators are the same, it's easy to determine which fraction is bigger just by looking at the denominator. So if we shade in 3/8 of this pie, and if we shade in 5/8 of that pie, we look at the denominators. They're the same. 5 is bigger than 3, so 5/8 is bigger than 3/8. When the denominators are the same, that's showing us that each piece of the fraction is the same size. Problem 2 talks about fractions where the numerator is the same, but the denominator is different. So in this case, we're going to shade in 4 of these, which gives us 4/7 of that pizza, and we're going to shade in 4 of these pieces, and that's going to give us 4/9. As we talked about in Unit 6, the bigger the piece, the bigger the denominator, the smaller the size of the piece. So if you look at this piece of pizza compared to this piece of pizza, you can see that it's smaller. The bigger the denominator, the smaller the size piece. Just in the alternative, the smaller the denominator, the bigger the size of the piece. The bigger the denominator, the smaller the size of the piece. The smaller the denominator, the bigger the size of the piece. So in a problem where the numerators are the same and the denominators are different, we need to think about that. So if the denominator is a smaller number, that gives bigger pieces. So if we have 4 bigger pieces, that means 4/7 is going to be bigger than 4/9. So 4/7 is greater than 4/9. 7ths, bigger size pieces, there's 4 of them. 9ths, smaller size pieces, there's 4 of those. 4/7 is bigger than 4/9. Moving on to problem 3. In this problem, neither the numerators nor the denominators are the same. We're going to use this for that. And so when we're dealing with those kind of problems, where both the numerator and the denominator are different, we're going to think about our landmark fractions, which 0, 1/2, and 1/2. So for this problem here, I'm going to shade in 2 pieces, and that's 2 out of 6. So we're going to write 2/6. And for this one, I'm going to shade in 4 pieces, which is going to be 4/7. Then, thinking about our landmark fractions, is a fraction closer to 0? Is it closer to 1/2? Or is it closer to 1/2? Well, we're going to use half. We're going to think about half. So, look at the denominator. We have 6. So half of 6 is 3. 2 is less than 3. So this fraction, 2/6, is less than 1/2. half of 7 is 3.5. 4 is bigger than 3.5, so that means this is bigger than 1/2. So 4/7 is bigger than 1/2, and 2/6 is less than 1/2. 4/7 is greater than 2/6. For problem 4, we're dealing with a fraction that is one fractional part less than a whole. So for this fraction, we would be talking about 5/6, and for this fraction, we will be talking about 6/7. Earlier, we mentioned the bigger the denominator, the smaller the pieces. So, from 6ths to 7ths, the size of the pieces gets smaller. So, this piece right here is bigger than this piece right here. So that means this piece is, or this fraction, this pizza is further away from the whole amount than this piece is. So 6/7 in this case would be bigger than 5/6. So again, the larger the denominator, the smaller the pieces, and this is smaller than this piece, so it's less distance away from the whole amount. Okay, for this next one, we're going to talk about how you determine if 3/5 or 5/8 is bigger. Well, of the four that we've talked about so far, none of them really worked the greatest to show how 3/5 compares to 5/8. So what we're going to do for this one is we're going to pull out our fraction stick chart, which is on page 399 in your student reference book, or on page 430 in your student math journal. And we're going to look at our chart here. So we're going to find 3/5. If I can grab my piece here, see if I can grab it. One more try. Nope. There we go. Okay, so here we've got 1/5, 2/5, 3/5. So 3/5 is right here, and we're going to compare that to 5/8. So we come down to our eighths: 1/8, 2/8, 3/8, 4/8, 5/8. 5/8 is right here. So, looking at our marks, we can see 3/5 and 5/8 are almost exactly the same amount, but 3/5 is a little bit less than 5/8. So, our fraction stick chart here can help us determine that 5/8 is greater than 3/5. So, to figure out comparing and ordering fractions, you can look at the denominators. If they're the same, you just look at the numerators. The biggest one is the bigger fraction. For fractions where the parts are the same, the numerator is the same, but the denominator is different. The denominator with the smaller number is the greater fraction. If neither the numerators nor the denominators are the same, one thing that you can do is compare it to your benchmark fractions, 0, 1/2, or 1. or you can use the fraction stick chart that I just showed you. And then the last part is the fractional. If it's one fractional part away from the whole amount, the bigger the denominator, the bigger the fraction. So 5/6 would be smaller than 6/7. 7/8 would be smaller than 8/9. The denominator is bigger, which means the fraction pieces are smaller, which shows us that it's a closer distance from being the whole amount.